trying to think of how to introduce Pankaj. Real spiritual dude, I think, is probably the best overall picture. His family has had a temple in Downingtown for years and years, and he decided that he wanted to learn about religious science. So rather than dipping his toe, he moved to Los Angeles to study with Michael Beckwith, which is how I met him at the Ancient Congress, actually coming up on 20 years ago this fall. So we connected, he moved back here in religious science, then he's grown and blossomed and deepened into other things. I sometimes talk about spiritual spirals as we go around, and every time we go through something, we're either lifting ourselves up or going deeper, or if we're getting ourselves in trouble, it's kind of cratering in or uplifting. And I've watched Pankaj go through probably a half a dozen different cycles. So Awakening to Divine Mind was one of them, a community that he had in Berwyn. It was meeting every other Sunday for a couple of years. He's participated with us. He was a facilitator of our retreat last spring. He got into breath work for a while. He's now starting a new work, which is going to be at the temple. And every time I have a chance to spend time with Pankaj, we go a little bit deeper. So please join me in welcoming Pankaj Sharma.
That's what I was greeted with this morning at Elba. I was like, oh. But I get it. It's good. It's wonderful being here today. It's been a couple years since I've been here in this room with all of you, or the people that were here before. Anybody here remember from years ago when I came? Just Bill? All right. And you too, right? No? Okay. Well, raise your hand then. All right, so Bill got a little bit about my journey, and I was sitting here this morning thinking about my journey and what I've been through and what I've been going through for many, many years, So I was almost wanting to say, Bill, stop. You're getting into my story here, and that's what I'm here to talk about, not you, And I'll do a better job talking about my story. So just briefly, I came into this teaching of New Thought, it's called New Thought, over 20 years ago. And at the time, it was a time in my life, I was in my 20s, and it was a time in my life where I was really growing spiritually, really getting into meditation, really getting into doing a lot of work on myself. And I read this one book, and it said, I think it was from Dr. Joseph Murphy. It was a Dr. Joseph Murphy book, and and I really wanted to know my life purpose, And it was a line in there that says, "Infinite intelligence leads me to my true place in life." Something, something, boom. So I would just say it a few times, and you go to the bathroom in the morning, you sit there, and you just read. I'd open the book, and there was that affirmation. I'd say it a few times, and go on about my way. And then one day I got a call from somebody who said there's this thing on Wednesday night down here on the main line, and I lived all the way out in Downingtown, in the suburbs, right? There's this thing on Wednesday night at the main line, and you should come. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even ask him what it was, but I just knew I had to be there. So I came, and it was an event from this guy that was a part of this place called Psalm Place, and Psalm Place meant Science of Mind Place. So I got into the Psalm Place community, and it was like everything that I've been studying with all these different teachers and books and stuff that I was into at that time. I saw that this place believed in all that stuff. So I was like, oh, cool. I found a place that kind of believed in the stuff that I was already kind of reading and believing in. So it really but then I was really at the same time well, what is this, some kind of organization, or you know what I mean? So I was always very, I had that level of resistance as well to being a part of anything, because a lot of us, the people who are into this kind of stuff, we're not joiners. I don't think. I know I've never been a joiner personally. I've always been a rebel, and I've always thought independent of the good opinions of others, so to speak, and done my own thing. And so, but like I said, I was enthralled with this. I got into the teachings. I started taking classes with Reverend Bruce at the time, Bruce Ginther, and my brother joined in, and we really got into this thing, and next thing you know, we finished all the basic foundational courses, and it takes about 2 years to get through all that stuff, right? And then he went to California, and I'm like, why are you going to California? You're running, man. You're just running. A couple weeks later, I said, make some room, man. I'm coming to California. sent him an email, and I joined him in California, and the practitioner training had already started there. And you have to go through like an application. There's something called an application, and actually applying and going through a process. You don't just walk in and say, I'm going to join the training. But I happened to just do that, and it started. I was like 2-3 weeks into it already in California. And I walked in, and luckily Dr. Michael was teaching the class that night. And I said, Dr. Michael, remember me? I'm the guy that you saw in Philadelphia. And now I'm here. He goes, you took all the classes, the foundational and everything? I said, yeah, I took them all. So he walks me back in the room. He goes, Linda. And Linda was this lady who was the charge of the practitioner training. And she's the one who told my brother, no, he can't come. He can't be a part of this thing. He goes, Linda, this here's Pankaj. He just showed up from Philadelphia. Put him in the training. And no application, no nothing, you know what I mean? I just put in. So like I knew I was in my right place. Infinite intelligence leads me to my true place in life, right? I did the training there for 2 years, came back here, and there was a church starting here at the time called the Center of Peace. Me and my brother were the first 2 practitioners at the Center of Peace, which is now celebrating this month they're celebrating their 20-year anniversary. So you know I've been in this thing for at least 20 years, right? So from there I got into a lot of different things, Eastern mysticism and then different things. And I say all this to say, like, if I could go back to myself 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, what would I tell myself? What would I tell myself then that I know now? And this is what I would share. I would share with myself, whether it was 20 years ago, whether it was 10 years ago, whether even if it was 5 years ago. This work is real, Pankaj. It's so real. And you're treating it as if it's not. You're treating it as if it's just like a pastime for you. And the idea that everything out there in this world is real work and that this is play is nonsense. You're doing the real work. And you need to commit yourself. You need to create a stronger commitment to doing the work. Because everything you really and truly want comes from this work. And I'm talking about the inner work. I'm talking about the work that we teach in our classes. I'm talking about the work of connecting so profoundly and so deeply to who you truly are, beyond your ego, beyond who you think you are, beyond your personality, beyond your thoughts and your emotions, to that center of pure spirit that Ernest Holmes talks about. So that's what I would tell myself, and that's the commitment that I'm making to myself today, that this is the real work, that be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And how do you renew your mind? How do you come through this transformational process? You're always waking up. You're never the same person you were. You're always changing. You're always growing. You're always evolving. Nothing stays the same in life. You're never the same, no matter who you are. Whoever you are today, tomorrow you're going to be different. And whatever you think and believe today, tomorrow it's going to be different. You're going to change. You're not going to stay the same. And so change is a part of life. But there's a part of you that is changeless, timeless, and eternal. Changeless, timeless, and eternal. All what Eastern mysticism talks about that. You know, when in the Hindu Sanskrit tradition, they say, asatoma, satgamaya, that lead me from the unreal to the real. And that which is real is that timeless, eternal state of being. It doesn't change. So in a world of change, there's that part of you that is changeless. That's always, and it's that part of you that is, so what are you really seeking in life? I can tell you right now, everybody in this room is seeking one thing. And what do you think it is? Go ahead, shoot out some answers.
Purpose. Peace.
And I knew you would say all those things, but I'm going to tell you something that's different. And you say happiness, right? But it's not happiness either. You know what you're really seeking? You're really seeking to know, if you're in this teaching, not just everybody in the world, but if you're in this teaching, you're really seeking to know that everything you need is right within you. That's all right here. That the wholeness and everything that you're looking for in life, it's here. That the peace, the abundance, it's all right here. You're seeking to know that, to realize that. Not to know it on an intellectual level, because intellectually, Look, it takes years to understand this on an intellectual level, right? But the intellect itself works against itself. At the level of the intellect doesn't change. You can understand, you can read all these books and understand this intellectually, and you will not change a dime. Right? Working at the level of the intellect is like writing your affirmations in the ocean with a sword, or in a swimming pool, or in a pool of water. As soon as you write them, they're gone. And so you got to go deeper than working at the level of the intellect. You've got to go into the spirit. You got to go into the spirit of truth, not just the letter of the law. There's the letter of the law and there's the spirit of the truth. And even Ernest Holmes says, after all these years of writing all these books, he goes, now you understand how this law thing works. Now throw it out and just realize that love is all that there is. He doesn't say exactly that way, but doesn't basically say something like that, right? now, forget about this whole law thing, because you understand the law of gravity. Now just understand that there is a law, there's a principle at life at work, but connect with the love. Like even in the reading today, it says, in order for you to I can't get the exact words, but it says you have to be like that self. You have to be like that, right? That you are already being like that. There's a part of you that's already transmitting the frequency of love, that's transmitting the frequency of abundance, that's transmitting the frequency of wholeness. It's here now. The only thing is, you're so identified with what's going on up here that you can't feel it. And even if you do feel it a little bit in your meditation or whatever you're doing in your spiritual work, this still takes over. This thing up here still takes over. Are you able to sit, or am I the only one that you sit and you're seeing that this thing is going on here, but you're another presence that is you that is watching this thing going on? Does that make any sense? Like, do you see that going on when you sit? Or even when you're going about your day, that this thoughts process are going on here, and there's a voice that's constantly going on, right? And it's like and you really get still and you see it. It's just like, I just do this thing with my fingers. I don't know why. But it's like there's this things that the thoughts come and the thoughts go. The thoughts come and the thoughts go. And it's never ending, right? But then you see that, like, there's me that's here, even though this thought is coming. This thought is temporal, right? But that which I am is here. Are you in there? You're in there, right? So you're in there. You're in there. And that which is you that is in there is seeing or noticing or is aware of these stuff that's going on up here. And even when you're meditating or even when you're trying to get deep into your spirit, this stuff is still going on. And it's like, are you listening to this? Are you turning from this and you're turning within? We say turn within, right? So the topic that I'm giving you today is connecting to the light. And that's a very general thing, like connecting to the light, right? It's just very airy-fairy. It's the stuff we kind of love. And the truth is that when you take a moment and you turn within, we use the light, but it's really beyond words, right? We use the light because when you just do this with me for a moment. Just turn within, close your eyes, and just turn your awareness within and connect to the light. Meaning you're setting that intention to become aware of the light inside of you. And you start to sense subtly and notice something that is light, that is frequency, that is beingness, that is peace. And it's just like a pebble that's dropped at the top of the ocean. It just goes deeper and deeper. Your awareness starts to sink deeper and deeper into this spaciousness and this place of beingness. And the more you drop into it, this thing that I was doing with my fingers, that thought process just kind of goes away. And there's a place of like no thought and just pure being. All right, so gently open your eyes and come back. So for some reason, when somebody guides you into doing that, it's a lot easier than when you do it yourself. Do you notice that? And when you sit there and you try to do it yourself, it's not as easy. But when you're doing it in a group with intention or something, or somebody's very clear about it and they're able to guide you there, you go there immediately. Does that make sense or resonate? I see a lot of people shaking their hand. So what is that? Because by ourselves, this thing it's and even I go through this thing. I'm only sharing to you from my experience. This is not something I read out of a book. You know, and so I've been on this journey for a long time. And I'm not just talking about past lives. I'm talking about this life right here. Right? I've been on this journey for a long time. It's been a long, hard journey. I've been all over the freaking place. Right? And I've been continuously, like Bill said, the prodigal son, coming home to myself again and again in different ways. Right? And you know, I need you to know. I need you to know that you're all that you need. We're in a time in this planet, in this history, that we all need to wake up. And we're like, you know, I don't know if this is true or not, but I kind of believe this, that like where some of us, like we've infiltrated this system, and we're here to raise our own consciousness and our vibration to lift the race. The race meaning all the other people on the planet. And the more you do your work to realize the truth of who you are, the more you lift the race. You're doing not just a great service to yourself, you're doing a great service to all those around you. Not in an egotistical way, but in a way that, like, you know, as I am lifted up, I draw all unto me. Like, as your vibration, as you rise in consciousness, as you're rising in vibration, you're rising in frequency. And what happens is, and this is the key thing I want to talk about today, when you connect to the light, when you connect to what's inside of you, beyond the word light, when you start developing that connection, the more you continuously make that connection, the more you create that groove. It's like cutting wood, or you're making a deeper, or drilling for water is a better analogy. You're driving deeper and deeper and deeper until you hit water. If I keep going here, 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 and doing different things, I can't hit water. But if I take one place and I just dig and just continue to drive it deep down, I'm going to hit water. And so a lot of us, you're like me. You've done this and you've done that, and you've gone over here and you've gone over there, and you know, and that's great. That's a part of the life journey. But at some point you mature and you be like, look, I'm just going to dive deep. I'm just going to go in. And I'm going to hit water. And then you start going in, just like we dive deep, we touch the water. We touch the presence. Right? And then life takes over and we stop doing that. And so it's like continually developing that practice of going in, touching the water, going deeper and deeper into the water, so that you finally get to the place that he who comes unto me will never hunger and never thirst anymore. You don't have to hunger, you don't have to thirst, because you've got it. You've got to that place where you realize you're all that you need. It's all inside of you, and you are it. You are the thing itself. That you are the thing that doesn't change. That you're seeing the stuff that's going back and forth across the screen called life, but you're there. You're the screen itself. It's going across you, your consciousness, you know? And so every time you make this connection and you drive that groove a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper, what happens is all the other stuff comes up to the surface. All the stuff, the lower densities, the frequencies, these feelings, you know, what's the ego do? The ego has its own structure set up around you, right? And the ego structure is to make you feel that you're not loved, you know, and it makes you feel like you're either better than or less than other people, or different, or it separates you from everything. And so you have these structures built up. Maybe you don't, I do, okay? But so I have these structures built up. And what I'm noticing is that these structures, whatever, as I continue to make that connection, as I continue to dive deep, these structures start to change. Be transformed by the renewing of the mind. The mind starts to change. The structures of even the mind itself, this stuff here, starts to change. Quantum physics says that the witness changes that which is witnessed, right? That the observer changes that which is observed, right? So, and becoming aware of this stuff right here, it starts to change. But if you get so engrossed into the stuff that's out here and not connecting first to who you are, the change is minimal to nothing. But when you get connected to this, the beingness of the truth and the very core of your essence, your innermost being, and from that place of awareness, you start seeing the other stuff that starts to come into your awareness, because it'll come up. But you can continue to rest, and you go back and forth, or play this game, this dance of knowing who you are, connecting to the light, and allowing the stuff to come out. That stuff can come up and be transmuted and transformed. And that's the work. And if I told myself 20 years ago or 10 years ago, commit yourself to the work. This is what I would say. And this is what I'm saying to you today, and this is what I'm saying to myself today. Commit yourself to the work of making that connection. The most important thing in your life on this journey is to make the conscious contact, to develop that contact, and to deepen that contact. And let that be your topmost priority, that connection, that contact of that place of stillness and beingness. And watch what happens. We're looking for a lot of times for immediate results. We're like people who, we want to see the rubber meets the road. We want to see the effect. We want to see the result. We want to see the demonstration. It's very subtle. It's very deep. Don't look for the outer result. Look for the inner result first, you know? Start seeing how you start feeling inside. And sometimes when you start doing the work, you don't feel so good. It's not about feeling good. That's the one thing you got to really understand too. That's something I would tell myself. It's not about feeling good. Because if you're bringing all the stuff up, it's not going to feel good. But if you hold it down in there and you don't bring it up, you're always going to be stuck with it. You know what I mean? And so we like to, a lot of times we avoid the practice because we know on some level it's not going to feel good. That it's uncomfortable at times. But if it was so easy and it was so comfortable, I would never have to go back to tell myself 20-year-old, stick to the work, commit to the work, because I would have done it anyway. You know, I wouldn't have been distracted. I wouldn't have been, I wouldn't, did the thing over here, over there, and everywhere, So, do I have time to meditate?
Yeah.
To do the thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's dive in again.